If you consider yourself to be a black feminist, you need to know a little more. If you consider yourself to be a black feminist, you need to know a little more about this woman over here on the left, Miss Gloria Steinem. I did do a video on Miss Gloria a few years ago, but I think I'm going to reiterate it again today, seeing as the number of black feminists possibly doubled or even tripled, and repetition deepens the impression. The title of this article did get cut off on the screen, but it is called Black Feminism, the CIA, and Gloria Steinem. What follows is a fact sheet about Gloria Steinem's operations against the various social and political movements in America, particularly her role in creating a hateful and virulent strain of black feminism that attacks black men while partnering with the white establishment. Let's read a little more. Gloria first came across the radar of black men in 1978 when Steinem put a book called Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman on the cover of Miss Magazine, the magazine which she controlled. The book was written by black feminist and activist Michelle Wallace, who literally came out of nowhere. In the book, Wallace called abolitionists like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth ugly and stupid for supporting black men. She called black revolutionaries chauvinist macho pigs and advised black women to go it alone. But pay attention to this part. Gloria Steinem said that Wallace's book would define the future of black relationships, and she pushed hard to make sure that the book received massive publicity. And don't we see this happening today? You might not be calling Sojourner Truth or Harriet Tubman ugly and stupid, but you sure are calling your fellow black sister a pick-me or desperate or thirsty when she stands up for black men. Y'all shame, y'all deflect, y'all project guilt on those who want to stand up for our men. You're literally doing what she intended from the beginning. Let a woman today stand up for black men and all of a sudden she's a misogynist and she hates women. I digress. What's the bottom line? The bottom line is the so-called black feminist movement was created and manipulated by the CIA from the very beginning. The only difference between black revolutionaries and black feminists on this issue is that the black revolutionaries know they were infiltrated and manipulated, but black feminists are still unwilling to admit that they were infiltrated and manipulated, largely because they are highly invested in the hateful brand of black feminism. As a result, the Hate Black Men movement has become more than just a political point of view. It is now a central part of the culture of black women, and this fact has led to the destruction of the black revolution and the complete distortion of black relationships, and the CIA had a direct hand in creating this situation. Gloria Steinem knew what she was doing when she put that book on the cover of Miss Magazine. Remember what she said earlier? She said that that book would define the future of black relationships. She pushed hard to make sure that book received massive publicity, and she used someone who looks just like you to push that narrative. If this doesn't change your mind about feminism, honestly, I don't know what will.
I've seen a video of yours where you said that feminism has conditioned black women to view black men as the enemy.
It has. Feminism was financed by the CIA. Gloria Steinem, I think she was.
Right, yeah.
Mother of modern feminism, because traditional feminism goes back to the 1800s, right? With Susan B. Anthony and those white supremacists. But Gloria Steinem was a CIA agent. They financed her. Her first feminist magazine they paid for. The CIA brought feminism into the white household to get the woman out the house, and into the black household to turn the black woman against the black man.
I've seen a video of yours where you...
Okay, so Gloria Steinem worked with the CIA before she became a famous feminist. So after she graduated from Smith College, she went to India to learn about the land reforms movement, and she made connections with activists. After that fellowship, she came back to the United States and she worked with an organization called Independence Research Service. That organization was secretly taking money from the CIA. So one of that organization's projects was sending out college students to the World Youth Festival, a pro-Soviet Union event. There they would hand out anti-communist propaganda. But it turns out that Gloria Steinem wasn't just an employee of that organization, she was a leader of it. So she was working directly with CIA folk. And not only was she the leader, later on in the mid-1970s, a radical feminist group found a report that she and other colleagues had written up about attendees of those communist festivals. That report they gave to the CIA. However, in her most recent memoir, she says she has no regrets and she would... Okay, so...
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Listen to the true self in here, you know? I mean, each of us...
Absolutely. And these two lovely ladies behind me constantly talk about that. They constantly talk about it. There's actually a press conference, I couldn't find it, of these two were doing a conference together, and a woman asked the white woman, what do you think about, you know, feminism in the country today? And then she asked the black woman, what do you think about race? And this lovely woman pointed out that you asked the white woman about womanhood and the black woman about race, as though somehow she can't speak to you on the problems of womanhood, as though somehow she is not also a woman experiencing what we experience in this.
First, R.I.P. Kevin Samuels. Now watch this. Pause. You see this kid right here? He's half black. He don't like to claim his black side. He wants to get into a college.
Do you know Gloria Steinem? Here, let me give you a hint. A little deeper. Black feminism, the CIA, and Gloria Steinem. What follows is a fact sheet about Gloria Steinem's operations against the various social and political movements in America, particularly her role in creating a hateful and virulent strain of black feminism that attacks black men while partnering with the white establishment. The raider of black men when she put a book called Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman by Michelle Wallace on the cover of Miss Magazine, which she controlled. Let's read on. The book was written by a black feminist and activist, quote unquote, named Michelle Wallace, who came out of nowhere. She was in her early 20s, yet she was being touted as the leader of black feminism. In the book, Wallace called abolitionists like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth ugly and stupid.
Playboy Mansion. Gloria Steinem posed as a bunny hostess in New York City's Playboy Club in 1963. She was underpaid, forced to stuff her bra, and threatened for a month. Steinem documented her entire experience in a diary titled A Bunny's Tale. The undercover bunny who exposed the Playboy Mansion.
Nowadays they just talk, but they talk about nothing. Nowadays everybody wanna say something. God. Nowadays they just talk, but they talk about nothing. Nowadays
they did not tell us that all of that being my own person and I'm independent would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up the man, you're gonna take one of these things and it's worse and it will destroy your nation. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with being with no man. We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on because everybody wants to pretend that this is not going on. Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man. They
even sin. When I say believe, I don't mean to believe in committing sin. Do you believe there is such a thing as sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
But sin in the ordinary sense that we regard it, do you believe or do you not believe?
Well, what would they be?
Do you believe that infidelity is a sin?
Well, I'm not going to specify what I think is sin. I've stated what I think is the worst sin.
Yes, but then you asked me to say what, and I said what, and you refused to answer me?
Yes, I don't know about infidelity. It has so many personalities to it, and what a person's own belief is. I couldn't generalize any of those things as they.
40% of all abortions in this country are performed on black women. In the state of Mississippi, about 78% of all abortions are performed on black women.
78%.
In the state of Georgia, it's 65%. Why is it that there is sort of this predominance of abortions performed on black women? When I began research further about eugenics, I discovered Margaret Sanger was a chief advocate of placing the first abortion facilities in this country in Harlem. It made me a bit suspicious because during slavery, the slave masters would kill, often, the infants of black women. And sometimes, this is really gruesome, they would slice a pregnant woman's belly open and kill the baby. And so in the black community, from slavery through Jim Crow, there's always been this emphasis on the community protecting the mother, protecting the baby. Fast forward, now there's an emphasis really advanced by these elites. Well, now we need to help out the race by exterminating the low performers. Kind of made me angry that the target of that was framed as helping the country, but the target was black women. Once I saw that, it was game on. 40%.
I have a direct quote from Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Understand why 88% of Planned Parenthoods are strategically placed in Black and minority neighborhoods. Why is it like in the state of New York, there are more Black babies being murdered in the womb than are alive? The abortion agenda is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There is money in dead baby parts. You can find it. It was found in food, cosmetics, everywhere. It's the Black genocide of today.
That girl is
Yo, did you know that Martin Luther King was the very first recipient of the Margaret Sanger Award, and his wife Coretta Scott King did his acceptance speech? Let's check this out. Let's read real quick. It says right here in 1966 that Martin Luther King received the award for the Margaret Sanger Award, okay? Information into the hands of the Black ministers.
Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was an avowed racist whose goal was to reduce the Black population in America, and she succeeded. In 50 years, there's been 22 million, over 22,500,000 Black people aborted, strategically and on purpose. Over 1,000 Black babies are aborted every day. So that means we are inside of it as we speak.
This is genocide. So wait,
we are inside of genocide. Margaret Sanger.
I believe in human rights. To me, abortion is as evil as slavery. It truly.
When Margaret Sanger was asked if she believed in a moral God who punishes evil, she rejected the Judeo-Christian God and claimed that all humans are part divine.
Well, I have a different attitude about the divine. I feel that we have divinity within us, and the more we express the good part of our lives, the more the divine within us expresses itself.
Perhaps Sanger's heretical belief that she is God, the same belief that Satan deceived Eve with in the beginning, is what led Sanger to believe that she could play God and decide the fate of millions of children who would be murdered in abortion mills throughout the United States. Margaret Sanger told Mike Wallace that she believed that the greatest sin is bringing children that she deemed unfit into the world.
Do you believe there is such a thing as sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin.
When Margaret Sanger...
Yo, watch this right here and come back for my commentary.
Pretty much all of us have been taught by white people, who've 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 been taught by white people, taught by white people, using textbooks written for, about white people. You pretty much only ever had white teachers. So if you're white, you were relentlessly reflected at the front of the room, and you could get through graduate school without having a teacher of color, right? Or maybe one, maybe two. And if you're a person of color, rarely, if ever.
Say that we've had great teachers of all.
Made by Professor James Bond.
And having lived in New York City for a few years before coming here, let me mention. My journey in the pro-life movement began when I met people like Catherine Davis from the Black Pro-Life Coalition. And Catherine told me about how Planned Parenthood specifically targets Black and Latino communities when picking locations for their buildings. The only difference between Planned Parenthood and Jim Crow, she told me, is that we can't see the targeting because it occurs inside the abortion clinics. But still, wearing my reporter hat like the good journalist that I hope I am, I was still skeptical. Where's the proof, I thought. Then I heard about this shocking statistic. In 2012, the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene Office of Vital Statistics found that there were more Black babies killed by abortions than there were Black babies born that year. That number was 31,328 abortions versus 24,758 births.
When the FBI studied Malcolm, and when they studied...
And this will have the source. So before TikTok want to play games, I'm tired of y'all playing games with me. It will have the source. This is 100% true letter. This is why even Planned Parenthood themselves are, speaking up, saying we condemn our founder, Margaret Sanger, and her racist ass. So this is a letter that she wrote in December 10th, 1939 to Dr. C.J. Gamble. All right, so I'm going to let you, if you want to read this letter, this really what's important is on the second page at the second, I think the second to last paragraph. That's the most important thing. So I'm going to move to the side for a second. You can pause the Bible because he says that that is murder. He says that that is sex.
Big bags, listen up, Billy Band, take a minute, working back, party back, you know you better. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's up. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's up. Up, then it's up. If it's up, then it's up. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's up. Big bags, listen up, Billy Band, take a minute, working back, party back, you know you better. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's up. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's up.
Happy Black History Month, y'all. It's the last day. I know y'all looking like, why is this white lady over my head? I'm about to tell you. Just chill. So this is Margaret Sanger. She is an American birth control activist, founder of Planned Parenthood. She was really big on eugenics, and I feel like she's important. This is important because there was this quote on Twitter that said, "Slavery is white history. The survival of slavery is black history." And I feel like she was one of the white pioneers as well that ultimately wanted to destroy the black race, and her goal was to try to get a cleaner race. And she did this through the creation of birth control. She had an idea like, okay, how can we convince women to sterilize themselves willingly? This is one of her quotes. "Birth control itself, often denounced as a violation of natural law, is nothing more or less than the facilitation of the process of weeding out the unfit, of preventing the birth of defectives or those who will become defectives. Birth control must ultimately lead to a cleaner race." She has a book called The Pivot of Civilization, and this is an excerpt from there. "We want fewer and better children who can be reared up to their full possibilities in unencumbered homes. And we cannot make the social life and the world peace we are determined to make with the ill-bred, ill-trained swarms of inferior citizens that you inflict upon us." So she essentially felt like ignorant Negroes were having too many children. That was in the South and the Midwest. So she teamed up with this doctor named, I forget his first name, but it was Dr. Campbell. I think his name was Dr. Campbell. And basically, they put like birth control clinics across, like they opened like 20 stores initially where women can come and purchase birth control and be able to like take those periodically, and essentially it would sterilize them. And they found that they were having complications when they were ready to have children. The lack of balance between the birth rate of the unfit and the fit, admittedly the greatest present menace to the civilization, can never be rectified by the inauguration of a cradle competition between these two classes. The example of the inferior classes, the fertility of the feeble-minded, the mentally defective, the poverty-stricken, should not be held up for emulation to the mentally and physically fit, and therefore less fertile parents of the educated and well-to-do classes. On the contrary, the most urgent problem today is how to limit and discourage the over-fertility of the mentally and physically defective. So essentially, she wanted to clean up the race. You know what I'm saying? Like, she even wrote archives to the doctor. I'm gonna share that with you now. She basically wanted it to get out to the black population immediately, because they felt like, hey, we're not sterilizing them fast enough. We're not getting them to stop having babies. How can we propagandize this? Okay, so we're gonna have to make women think that this is for them, that they can be free, they can be more social, they can have a freer life, freedom, and now you can climb the corporate ladder and yada yada yada. So she wrote this this letter, and this was in an archive letter. It said they do not do this with the white people, and if we can train the Negro doctor at the clinic, we can go among them with enthusiasm and with knowledge, which I believe will have far-reaching results among the colored people. His work, in my opinion, should be entirely with the Negro profession and the nurse, hospital, social workers, as well as the county's white doctors. His success will depend upon his personality and his training by us. So she then proceeds to say, we also got to get it to the church. The minister's work is also important, and also he should be trained perhaps by the federation as to our ideals and the goal that we hope to reach. We do not want word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellion members. So I just thought that we should, as we go into Women's History Month, they like to highlight her, that we should, that I should bring this to the forefront, you know what I'm saying? And those of you who are on birth control, this is the history of it, you know, it has a dark past. You know, I would recommend that you guys do your research, your own research on the side effects of these, because it's had many complications for women on birth control, and they don't tell you that. And as you can see in the excerpts in the archive letters, that their goal was to train the doctors to tell you, hey, everything's fine, yeah, just as long as you're controlling your bodies, you're fine, girl, just take it, you're not gonna get pregnant. But I've had friends have complications, bleeding consecutively day after day for 30 days straight from them taking birth control. I've had friends who've miscarried with babies. I've had, you know what I'm saying, I've had family members, aunts, you know what I'm saying, well, not uncles, aunts, cousins. I've had female cousins. So I've seen the complications that it has had on my people. So these are just some of the side effects that you can get. Weight fluctuation, you know what I'm saying, dysfunctional uterine bleeding, breast tenderness, acne, abdominal pain, anxiety, depression, mood swings, mood disorder, headache, migraine, irregular menstruation. It literally can throw off all of that. Some women have had breast cancer from things like this. So it shows you, like, they were trying to exterminate us, but we're here. So
Fools like them, they suss me out and then they ghost. Girls like me are like a magnet to a knife. Can like a lighter from the ocean. I sell them on devotion and so my God. Fools like them, they suss me out and then they ghost. I found a rainbow in the shade, the shadiest of places, a better one I saw. I said, Fools like them, they suss me out and then they ghost. Girls like me, I like a magnet to